Welcome back to MOMnation Unscripted. Now, a word from our sponsor.
Hi, it's Marilyn
and Bruce
of Montage Duo. We are a versatile musical act that performs music from the 1940s to today.
We cover a wide range of musical genres and styles, including classic rock, pop, country, funk, blues, and even a little jazz.
So, if you're looking for professional quality entertainment in the greater Phoenix area, either for an intimate acoustic setting
or a rockin' full band sound, Montage Duo will please you and your guests, engaging them to join in the fun by providing an interactive entertainment experience.
For more information, visit our Facebook page at Montage Duo.
Hey everybody, we are back again with another episode of MOMnation Unscripted, and today we have Sarah Mendenhall on with Hulafrog, and we are super excited to chat with her here in a couple of minutes. But before we get started, Jenny, tell me about I guess it's your last 2 weeks, because we haven't really seen each other for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy how fast it goes. But I don't know. I've just been busy working. We had Valentine's Day over the weekend and took a little day trip up to Sedona. And that's kind of it. I don't feel like I've had a whole lot going on.
Well, that looked beautiful. I saw those photos. Did you guys go hiking or something? What'd you do up there?
Well, we took Phil's mom up. So we couldn't do too much hiking because she, can't handle walking that far. But we kind of walked around downtown a little bit. And we'll see his dad's ashes are spread up there, and Valentine's Day was their anniversary. So that was kind of our way of taking her to go visit him on their anniversary. So I think it was also a little bit emotional for her, to be there to visit him. And so, it was just, I feel like it was kind of an emotionally draining day. And after that, she was, I think, just ready to head back home. But we tried to make the best of it. So the freeway was actually closed. So it took us about 2.5 hours to even get there. We had to kind of detour and take a different route. And then it was colder. It was in the 40s. So it was colder and just, everything. She wasn't dressed appropriately. She didn't have a warm jacket. So she was cold and didn't want to do a lot of walking around. So we didn't do a whole lot.
Makes sense. I was going to ask you, I was going to say, it must have been freezing up there because this weekend was super cold in the valley, in the Phoenix area. Super cold and super windy. We couldn't even make it to the boat.
Yeah, it was really weird. I was expecting sun, and all of a sudden we're sitting there on Saturday night and I'm like, is that wind? And we look out there and we have these inflatable whales in our pool and they were about to go flying over to visit the neighbor's yard. So we had to run out there and, kind of close everything up. But where did that come from? I wasn't prepared for it at all.
It was totally crazy. And our pool was full of bougainvillea. I have a bunch of bougainvillea in my backyard, so it sheds all year long. It doesn't even matter. And so we did a bunch of work over the weekend, spent a little time just, with family on Valentine's Day. But we were cleaning up, my husband was cleaning out the pool and my kid was leaning over to look at something and totally fell in the pool.
Oh my gosh.
Oh no. I know, and it was so cold. I felt so bad for him. And I was upstairs in my office and all I heard was, just him screaming, like he was upset. And I ran downstairs and my husband's frantically pulling his clothes off and because the poor thing was freezing. But yeah, I don't know where that wind came from. It kept us from, we went for a hike, which was nice, up the War Paint Trail, which I love, but it did keep us from going to the boat. So I was a little bit bummed out about that. But if anybody here has any experience driving a pontoon boat, you don't do it when it's windy. You just don't.
Yeah, I bet. That sounds like wise advice.
Yeah. Other than that, just putting the finishing touches together for Jackson's birthday. I cannot believe I have a 7-year-old. He turns 7 on Thursday. And I know. I feel like I was just pregnant, quite honestly. And so we're going to spend the day with him and do some fun things. I'm going to take it off from work on Thursday and just, do some fun stuff with him, kind of make it 7-year-old directed day. So I'm sure I'll be wrestling and eating tons of snacks and playing Uno. I'm sure that's what my day is going to consist of. But his party is on Saturday, and he's into magic. It's so cute. And so I had this bright idea of finding him a magician for his birthday party. And I scored one, and I'm really, I think I'm more excited than the kids are going to be. It's a surprise. So when he walks in, like the kids are going to be surprised. But he has live animals. He eats fire. He makes the birthday kid levitate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
You're going to get video of that, aren't you?
Heck yeah. If he lets me, yeah. I intend to ask him if that's okay, because how fun. I've never been to a birthday party that has a magician before. So
No, that's awesome. The girls will love it.
yeah,
That's going to be fun.
I'm excited. Speaking of fun things, Sarah, super stoked to talk to you today. Again, thank you so much for being on the call with us. So Sarah is clarify it for me. I know I asked you once already, but clarify it for me. So you run the Hulafrog for all of Arizona or just Scottsdale?
For just Scottsdale. So I run the Scottsdale site. We actually are looking for a couple of editors for a few of our other sites. So if anyone's interested and likes that route of things, we are looking to fill a couple of positions.
Awesome. And real briefly, because I know that this plays into the story that we are about to hear, or it's kind of like the end result, so to speak. Tell us just a little bit about Hulafrog.
Yeah, so Hulafrog's really fun. Basically, if you're a mom and you have a local Hulafrog, you can easily find everything all in one place. So what it is a free website for parents to find everything. So we combine all different events calendars into one calendar. So you don't have to go look and see what time is the story time at the library and what time is open gym at Sky Zone and things like that. We put it all into one calendar, and you can just go and think, what are we going to do today? I don't know, check Hulafrog, and you'll see a whole bunch of things all on the calendar. We're also hyper local. So it's not, something that you're going to drive to. I mean, occasionally we would put like festivals or, Disney on Ice is coming to Phoenix or something like that, then that would be the kind of thing you would travel for. But other than that, it's really local. So like for my site in particular, it's finding things that are happening right in Scottsdale for the most part. And then we have a huge directory. So anything that you're looking for parent related in your area, you can find it on Hulafrog. So if you're looking for a preschool or a pediatric dentist, birthday party entertainers, that's a big category in it, birthday party destinations. So instead of asking all the time, for recommendations, you can just go to Hulafrog and see it. And you can also read reviews of the business. And if they have some sort of offer or something like that, they can post that right on there too.
That's awesome. It's nice that you have the reviews available, because the beauty of MOMnation, what I love about that is we get actual reviews from people who have used these people. So I actually posted in the group, I was like, hey, does anybody know of a magician for a kid's party? And boom, 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 I got, 4 or 5 different recommendations, but these are people who have actually used them before or know them very well, so it's kind of nice to have that, because you never know. I mean, people can say that they do a lot of things, and you never know how it really is to work with them.
Right. We also, so businesses don't pay to be on Hulafrog. It's free for them to be on it. So as far as local businesses, it's a free targeted marketing platform for businesses that want to reach local parents. So we're basically just connecting moms. I mean, we say parents, but it's like 97% moms.
Right.
So connecting moms to the local businesses. And then if they click the heart next to the business and like the business, that actually moves the business up on the list. So when you go to look at, orthodontists in the area and you see the order of how they're listed, that's how many loves they've gotten clicked. So it's kind of a free way for you to help out local businesses by just showing them some love on Hulafrog, because they come up, higher on the list. And right now, what we did on Valentine's Day, we just released all of our most loved awards. So in all of the big categories like places to go, pediatric dentists, preschools, public school, everything like that. We had the voting going on from New Year's Day until I think about 5-6 days ago. And then we announce all the winners on Valentine's Day. So that's kind of a big bulk of my work this week, is delivering those awards out to all the businesses and trying to help promote them, showing on Facebook, these were our winners. This is our most loved, private school in Scottsdale, all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of fun.
That
I
is
love that.
fun. Yeah.
That's such a great idea. And so nice that, anything that you need, it's just one place that you go to and you have everything right there at your fingertips. So that's nice.
Right. I always say that. I'm like, this is all on Hulafrog. Like, I already did it for you. You can just find it all in one spot. So it makes it really easy. That's kind of how we got started with it, because we lived in New Jersey when they launched, and loved it. My daughter was just a baby when we lived there. And so starting to find, things to do going on, especially in a big area like that, where a lot of things, if you just do a Google search, it would be things going on in New York City. And a lot of times it's like, I don't want to know what's going on in New York City. Like, we don't plan on going into the city today. I want to find out what's happening right here. So that's kind of how it started. Carrie and Sherry, the co-founders of Hulafrog, saw this as a need in their community, and they figured, if we need this in our community, I bet communities all across the country need it. And so that's how it's kind of built out to be about 300 hyper local sites around the country.
That's awesome. I mean, busy moms need a directory.
Right.
Let's just face it.
Yeah, that's kind of spend less time searching, more time having fun with your kids.
Yeah. So speaking of fun, there's a reason why, and you correct me, but I think there's a reason why that you got involved with Hulafrog, probably many reasons, but I think we're about to uncover one big one. So let's start at the beginning, Sarah. Tell us a little bit about you and tell us about what you've been through in your life.
Okay. So I was just a normal person, kid, teenager, going through life. And then when I was 23, my first year out of college, I was diagnosed with a really rare sarcoma in my chest. Oddly enough, my husband was in med school at the time. So luckily I had him to kind of go with me to appointments and try to work through figuring it all out. But it was a really rare kind of cancer. So that led me into various surgeries. I ended up having a partial mastectomy, radiation to my chest, and then years of follow-up procedures and tests going on from that. So that was when I was 23. And as soon as I had my last day of radiation, I picked up the phone and called American Cancer Society. And I was like, this is crazy. I've gone through this cancer. I have a good one. I mean, if you have to have cancer, I feel like I had a pretty good one. Like, we didn't think I was going to die right away. So that was okay. But I did meet a lot of fabulous people sitting there going to radiation treatments together that were nowhere near as lucky as I was. So the day I finished radiation, I called up the American Cancer Society and said, I want to get involved and volunteer. And, I kind of was given cancer at a young age. So maybe it gives me more time to kind of get involved and help other people that aren't really as lucky as me. So that kind of led me down this big volunteering path with them. I volunteered in many capacities. I was a team leader, I fundraised, I lobbied for American Cancer Society, locally in Indiana and nationally, making a big trek to Capitol Hill and meeting with our legislators to hopefully get them to vote for, funding the NIH and various issues that would help cancer patients. So that, and then when I was 26, I think at this point, trying to remember, I think my husband was like in his second to last year. I got another cancer, which was totally unrelated to the first one. So that one was in my appendix, which they took my appendix out. And then that was kind of it. We watched it. So I've done, ongoing tests and stuff for a really long time since then. I actually just in December celebrated my 16-year cancerversary since originally being diagnosed, which I do celebrate every year. But it was really a third diagnosis that I was facing that kind of changed my outlook. So we had moved to New Jersey. My husband was in his radiology residency then, and I had a baby. My daughter had just turned 1, and we got the news. I had had my regular breast MRI that I would have regularly. And they noticed that there was a lot of changes on it. And so conclusively with all of my oncologists and, various specialists, they all concluded that I needed to have a double mastectomy, and then they'll figure out which type of chemo after that. So that was stressful. It was right at Christmas time. So we kept trying to figure out, is there any way I can get out of this double mastectomy? Because when you're actually facing it and you look up what it entails, it's terrible. I mean, you can't hold your baby for a long time. You've got drains and ports, and it's really pretty bad. So I was basically facing a good probably 6 months that I wouldn't really get to hold my daughter. And I was so worried that she was going to, if I die, all she was going to know of me was me being sick, if she even remembered me at all as a little toddler. And miraculously, since my husband was in his radiology residency at the time, he was working under this doctor that started doing these MRI lead biopsies. And so they put me on the MRI table like I would get my regular MRI and have the contrast in, but then they went in first of all, this is something if all women know, if you ever have to get a breast MRI, you're actually laying face down and there's 2 holes that your boobs just hang through these holes. So you're in the machine laying face down. And then they went in and put like a little marker, like a little something, I don't know, some little needle or something in there, and kind of like moved me in and out of the table. And while I was still laying there in the exact position, they went in and did a biopsy of it and pulled out the tissue that was, came up as different and that kind of thing. So I had that done, and it ended up coming back that it wasn't cancer. They thought it was a reoccurrence. All of the doctors wanted me to get this double mastectomy, and they found out that it was just like scar tissue. It was just changes in my breast tissue, probably because I had a baby and had breastfed since my last one. And so it changed it enough that it sent up red flags to everyone. And so my husband's actually the one that called me and told me the good news. He was like, "You're not going to believe this. It's not cancer." So we found out I basically just got that whole year back that I thought I was going to miss. And so as soon as I heard that news, it was kind of unbelievable because I had been getting ready mentally and, physically, everything for it. So I was just like, oh my gosh, if I'm given this day, I want to have fun. And I want to have fun every single day and make sure that my daughter has fun and she gets to see me having fun with her every day. And so I've basically done that ever since. And my daughter's 12 now.
Wow. I mean, what a lot of stuff to go through, especially at 23. I mean, you're just a baby yourself at 23. I mean, come on.
I know, it's a really weird age too. There aren't that many people that are diagnosed with cancer in their early 20s. So when I would go into my appointments, it would either be, basic, like my surgical oncologist is a breast surgical oncologist. And so most of the women that were in there in the waiting room were, postmenopausal. You wouldn't really see younger. And anyone younger than me that had cancer went to a children's hospital. So It's really kind of strange to be in your 20s. You feel like you're kind of the only one that's about that age. So it's strange.
I was going to ask you that. You must have not really been in a group of peers per se, because of your age and because it's very, very uncommon. How did that make you feel? I mean, did you freak out a little bit extra? I can't imagine being in your shoes there.
It was just kind of, I just took it and was like, okay, I guess this is what I'm going to have to do. I mean, if you overthink it too much, then it's really scary.
Yeah.
There's definitely some moments that like stick out that I will never forget. I mean, when I had I had a lumpectomy, and then when the doctor called me and told me that it was cancer, I was actually at work. I was in a showroom that I worked in and got the news and was just kind of in shock, and was driving home to tell my husband, he was my boyfriend at the time, but to tell him that I had it. And I called my parents on the way, and was talking to them, and I was like, I have cancer, and I started crying, and they were like upset. And so I've kind of actually always had a lot of patience when it comes to other drivers being really annoying that my husband hasn't really figured out. That for me, whenever I see someone driving crazy or something, I'm like, you don't know what they're going through, just stay away from them. Because I know that moment that I was driving and telling my parents this and crying, I'm sure I was driving like a crazy person or something. So there's certain things that definitely going through it, I think at that age, and probably going through it at any age, that it does just kind of change your outlook on some things. And for me, having fun is the biggest change. Probably doesn't make me the best mom, but it makes me a fun mom.
Hey, sounds good to me. I would feel, I mean, very difficult to put myself in your shoes, especially at that age. I mean, I'm 41 now. I barely remember what 23 was like, but I would feel very alone. And you had mentioned that you kind of felt alone, and just like, not that people around me don't love me and don't want to support me, but I would feel like, hey, I'm the only one in this age group kind of going through this, or the only one that I know of anyway.
It was straight. And going to my appointments, I remember there being other patients that would kind of look at me like I'm a patient. Like they would kind of blow me off. I think they thought I was a pharmaceutical sales rep and I was just going to visit the doctor. And I was in sales at the time, not in pharmaceutical sales. But so I would come straight from work. I mean, I worked through everything, through all my radiation and everything. I worked. And I think some people would look at me like that sometimes, like, excuse me, I'm a patient, out of my way. And I'd kind of be like, well, I'm a patient too, you know, and I don't think people really realize that because they weren't kind of expecting it. So that's a little strange. Another thing that I think that was really strange was I never would have thought how hard it is to tell people that you have cancer. Because every time I would tell someone, I would get nervous about telling them. Not that I've never been nervous about talking about it. I'm totally an open book when it comes to that. But I was worried about their response because people don't take that news very well. And so I would be more concerned about them and how they're going to, because they're kind of in shock. And I would get a lot of people saying, you don't look like you have cancer. And I'm like, well, what would that look like? I mean, you don't lose your hair unless you're going through chemo. And I don't know. So it's like more other people, I felt like I kind of needed to tiptoe around them because it was hard for them to talk about it. And I don't know. So that's a little
totally
strange.
Understand that. But you were diagnosed twice, right? What are the odds of that? Is that a common thing once you've had cancer once, that you are more susceptible to getting it again? Or was this just a super rare occurrence that you got it twice and they weren't related to each other?
Well, that was something that was really scary about the second diagnosis, because it was, does my body just make these weird cancers? Is this something I am definitely going to have to deal with forever? And we never know when the next diagnosis is going to come. So that was kind of scary. But I think it is kind of a freak incident. I mean, I have heard of people that have had two different cancers, but usually they're quite a bit older. So it is rare for a younger person. My second one wasn't as rare. Well, if you think this isn't very rare. So out of people who have to get their appendix taken out, in 1% of those appendixes, they find this carcinoid tumor. So 1% of the population of people who actually have appendicitis. So that was my higher one. My first one was extremely rare. My husband only knew what it was because it's one of those weird ones that would show up on a med school test that you would have to remember. But like none of my doctors, I think one of my oncologists had one other instance of it, but otherwise it was one of those weird things of, okay, how do we tackle this and what's the best way to deal with this, because it was so rare.
That's just crazy. And the odds that your husband happened to be going to school for radiology, how did that help you get through this? I imagine he had some inside knowledge, that any other random person wouldn't have, and he may have been able to comfort you and maybe put your mind at ease going through that.
Yeah. It was nice because obviously you don't know any of this stuff, it's like you're speaking another language, medical terms and everything that you kind of learn going through it. So yeah, it was very nice having him, and he could go through, he could go to some of my appointments with me, and My parents actually moved. So I lived in Indianapolis at the time, and my parents lived in the Bahamas, and they moved from the Bahamas to Indianapolis just to be with me, to go through it. So it really helped being able to have either Cole or my parents with at an appointment, because when you're the patient, it's almost like you're sitting there and you hear half the things and then you walk out and you're like, I don't even remember what was said. So it was nice to have somebody there with me that could take notes and ask questions to things that I wouldn't have necessarily thought of. But yeah, it's an interesting journey. You do kind of feel like you're on your own with it.
I can imagine, especially being at that age. How did you discover this? Was it during a regular breast exam that you discovered it, or what? Take me through that.
So that's actually a really strange thing. So I was actually living in the Bahamas for a little bit. At the time, I was a residential interior designer down there, and I was sitting at the airport. They have I don't know if you guys have ever been to the Bahamas, but Paradise Island, which is connected by a bridge to New Providence, where NASA is. They used to, I don't know, because now it's been a long time since I've been there, but they used to have a little tiny airport that wasn't even really an airport. It was this seaplane would fly in from Fort Lauderdale or Miami, and it would land right in the harbor on the water. And then it would get its tires up and then pull up onto like a landing pad, little strip thing right by Atlantis. And I was sitting there just waiting for Cole, reading a book, waiting for his plane to come in. And I just randomly felt this weird, it's not actually like in my breast, it was like my chest right here. And something just felt a little strange. I don't even know how to describe it. It was just like it must have been like it was actually growing at that moment and like stretching my skin, that something felt weird. And I just reached up and felt it. And it felt like a little BB, like the size of a BB. And I was like, this is really strange. And so when he got there, I was like, I felt this weird little thing, and I had him feel it. And he was like, that is weird. And so then when I got back to the States, I had gone to my regular OB-GYN for my annual, and I had her like touch it. And at that point it had grown to like the size of a marble. So it was kind of strange that it had grown that much. And she was like, I think it's a sebaceous cyst, but let's just cut it out just to be safe, and see. And so I got it cut out, which was a lumpectomy. And then when the surgeon called me to tell me that it was actually cancer, the path had come back on it that it was this rare sarcoma. And they had seen in the path that I didn't have negative margins. So there were positive margins. So what they had cut out, there's actually the kind of tumor it kind of looks like a sun with like little tentacles kind of coming off of it that kind of just try to spread as fast as they can through your body. And so I had some of these little lines going outside of the path that they could see. So they were like, we have positive margins, so we need to go back in and take everything out. So then they cut like everything out up here, like half my boob into my armpit. And oddly enough, my surgical oncologist, we had talked about possibly doing reconstructive surgery of what I was going to look like afterwards. And he was like, you know what, I think you're really young. You might be okay with the way that I cut this out. So he cut this whole thing out, and sure enough, my boob just grew right back. I never had reconstructive surgery. I have natural, still big boobs, but it just grew right back and they're still even. It's really strange.
Wow. I mean, you got to love the human body. That's pretty impressive.
I know. I'm like, apparently I was just meant to have boobs, because you can cut half of it out and it's just going to come back.
Here they are. So what's your practice now? Are you pretty focused on doing your monthly breast exams? What are you doing for preventative, or I guess not really preventative, but just to make sure that you catch anything that might potentially crop up? Fingers crossed. Hopefully you're good.
Yeah. Well, for many years, I had a lot of regular tests. I would get a breast MRI annually. I would get a chest X-ray because I had had radiation that actually hit my lung. I would have to do. They would rotate an abdominal CT 1 year, with then rotating with a test called an Octria scan, which you don't consume the radiation as much. Your body doesn't take it in. It's really strange. They actually inject you with radiation the day before, so you're like radioactive for like 24 hours, and then you go, which is kind of like an MRI or CT machine, kind of like that, and you go through, and then it'll light anything up that's a carcinoid type of tumor. So since I had the two different ones, I had to have all these regular tests for each one. So it was like, I have to get this, and then I have to get this. So I had a lot of years of a lot of that, and it kind of just got longer, spread out longer as the years went on. So going from seeing my oncologist every 3 months to every 6 months to once a year to, and now I'm at the point where I only do a breast MRI every other year. And that's it. They've basically deemed me as, once I was past 10 years, they're like, we don't really, the likelihood of a reoccurrence is really rare after that long. So I kind of got set free, which was really nice. It was fun celebrating.
Well, right. And if we want to look at the silver lining and the bright side of things, if that was going to happen to you, I mean, I personally would much rather have it happen to me in my early 20s when I can bounce back quickly and my boobs grow back and everything is good, than probably some of those other people that you had come across when you were going through your treatments, that were maybe in the same office and going through the same things.
Right. And just the difference of being a mom. Going through it before, it was like I had to worry about myself, but being a mom, it's like your kids are going to see you sick and worry about you and all of that, the idea of going through it as a mom is way scarier than when I was, just on my own. That's actually one of the organizations that I've gotten involved with locally here in the Phoenix area, is the Singletons, which is a great nonprofit that they help single parents who are going through cancer with all kinds of different things, which is really kind of neat to think about, because that I can't imagine how hard that would be to go through cancer as a mom and be a single mom, of how hard that would have to be. So
I can't even imagine. I'm so glad that there's organizations like that that exist to help moms going through something that's already so difficult, but then you don't have, a significant other there to support you through that, or to help you with your kids when you're feeling sick and just struggling and emotionally drained. I just can't imagine doing that on your own.
yeah.
So let's fast forward to your third time that you thought you were battling cancer. Thank God you found out that it wasn't cancer, but you've got this baby. You said she was about 1 at the time. How
Mhm.
did you emotionally get through that time? Because I can imagine you're, holding your baby and you're so excited for her life and, the life that you're going to have with her. And then you get that thrown in your face. How it must have been devastating. And how did you had to keep a smile on. You had to still get up at night with your baby and continue on and taking care of her. How did you get through that?
Yeah, that was tough. I would have to say that was actually tougher than probably the second diagnosis, I felt like, because it was just so scary, and having her. And it was, I was shopping with my sister. We lived in New Jersey. I was back in Indianapolis visiting family for Christmas, and shopping with my sister when I got the call, and they were like, it's bad and you're going to probably have a double mastectomy. But we'll talk, and it was like, I was reaching out to all of my doctors that I had back in Indianapolis and my new doctors that I had in New Jersey. And I was just hoping one of them would be like, no, you don't need a double mastectomy, but they all agreed on it. So it was like, oh, that's kind of standard. If you've had a cancer in your chest and you've had radiation and now something else pops up, that's kind of the standard route. They're going to cut it all out. And so it was scary. My sisters and I all had little girls at the same time. So my two sisters and I were all pregnant with our little girls. So I had a little girl, but they also had their little girls, and they lived in other parts of the country too. So trying to figure out of like, who can come and be with me, who can go be with Sarah for like a week, and while I was recovering from the surgery. And so they would have had to have left their families and come to try to help me with mine, which, you know, my husband was in residency, so he was working like 90 hours a week then. That was tough. It was pretty shocking when I got the call that it was not cancer. That was pretty unbelievable. I couldn't even really believe it. It took a few days to process of, you mean I'm free? I don't have to get this horrible procedure and all of that. And that's why it was just easy to be like, you know what, we're going to have fun. I make, one of the things I do in our family is every year I make a yearbook, like of, you know, from Snapfish, that it's kind of documenting all the fun things we did that year or whatever. And that year we lived in a basement apartment in New Jersey, which sounds terrible, but it was nice. And we lived like a block from the beach, so we liked it. But still, I remember making the yearbook that year, and it was, I like titled it "Our Life in the Basement and What We Made of It," because like we lived in this basement, but we just got out, had a blast, explored everywhere we could possibly go, enjoying like kind of exploring the East Coast because it was our first time living out there, and just having fun and deciding, you know what, I'm gonna have fun every day. I don't want to like have there be a chance where all of a sudden I'm gonna die and then think, oh my God, I wasted yesterday by being grumpy about something, or I don't know what, you know, all the things you could waste the day about instead of having fun.
Yeah, it's a huge message. And I think that it's easy for, you know, people who don't have that type of devastating situation in their life to just be like, oh, well, I mean, I find myself doing it, right? Like, oh, I got to work. Yeah, we'll hang out tomorrow. Or, oh, you want me to play with you right now? Well, sorry. I'm doing the laundry, and yeah, I'll play with you later. You know, I feel like it's kind of easy because it's difficult to be a mom and to juggle all of these things that we have to do, and you know, that's on our plate and whatnot. And so I think it's very, very inspirational that you're sharing this story, and hopefully it will fall upon ears of those that need to hear it, and they don't necessarily have to go through such a tragedy in order to get there, because it is super important. And it's like so funny the way the universe works, because I'm actually having a major struggle personally with this right now. And so it's funny that you're on the show and that I get to interview you, because I'm hearing, you know, from your lips that went through these tragic moments, how important it is to press the pause button, like Jeni told me yesterday, and just enjoy what you do have, and just enjoy those people that are around you, especially when our kiddos they're not young forever. And
Yeah.
you know, with Jackson's birthday coming up, that's something that I'm also struggling with, is like, wow, he's 7. Wow, in a couple of years, I'm going to be not cool anymore. And it's going to be about friends, and it's going to be about, you know, what can I do that doesn't involve mom? Why am I wasting that time now? And so,
Yeah.
so I thank you for the message, and it's really, you know, hitting me home quite a bit. So Hulafrog came into play shortly after this. Was it, and it was something that you wanted to get involved in because of this inspiration that you had, or kind of clarify that part for me?
Yeah, kind of both. So, like I said, Hulafrog was started in New Jersey when we lived there, and it was started like maybe even that year or the year after that I had that big scare. And so it was fun because it made it easy for me to go find fun things to do with kids instead of just sitting around in a basement apartment. But and so our life has taken us all over the place. My daughter was 8 when we moved here to Scottsdale, and she's lived in 7 states. So we were moving all the time because of Cole's job. So we left New Jersey and had to do a year in Chicago. And where we lived in Chicago then, they had a Hulafrog too, a local Hulafrog. So it was nice that it was like, oh good, there's a Hulafrog. Now I can find everything, being brand new to living here. And then we had moved from Chicago to Syracuse, New York, and it was such a nightmare. I mean, if you're used to having a Hulafrog where you just go and it has everything easy to find right there, and then you move somewhere that doesn't have one, it drove me nuts. I was like, I spend so much time like trying to Google all this stuff and trying to ask for recommendations. And I was like, they need a Hulafrog here, and I should be the one to do it. And so I reached out to Hulafrog, talked with them, and launched the Syracuse site, and had that going for a couple of years. that was really kind of a big part of me taking me having fun with my family and friends to bringing it to everyone else, of being like, if I'm already going to be doing this look because I want to make sure my family's having a good time and we know about all the cool things to do around town, why not just do it for everyone and make it easier? So, people are all busy. They have time, they don't have enough time to really look for it. And I would hate for somebody to not enjoy having fun with their kids just because they had no idea something was going on. That was neat to do. So that's really where I started it there. Went with it, did some stuff nationally of doing like press releases, media outreach, that kind of stuff. And then moved here to Scottsdale and brought Hulafrog with.
I love it. So it sounds like you do your family and you and your daughter are pretty active. So it sounds like you guys do a lot of outside of the home stuff. Am I right? And Hulafrog helps with that.
Oh, constantly. We're always on the go. We spent this weekend at Winter at the Princess going on at the Fairmont Scottsdale Princess. I always love their seasonal activities they do. And so that's fun, and you can do that. You don't have to stay the night. You can just buy admission to go to it, or they have like different ways of doing it and stuff. But I mean, when you're ice skating in shorts, it's like, you can't really beat that. Now, you did see a lot of people at the resort that were, in swimsuits hanging out. And then I was like bundled up in towels because to us it's cold here now. But yeah, I mean, we're always out and about doing stuff. We volunteer a lot of places. We like to hike. We like to go to Topgolf and play the Angry Birds game. That's so much fun. So yeah, we're pretty much always out and about doing stuff.
What about for those of us who maybe aren't super comfortable going out right now, or we just don't have the means and we're, or looking just for more of home-based fun? Do you have any suggestions for that? Is Hulafrog a good resource for that?
Yeah, absolutely. We have tons. So that's something that Hulafrog, we kind of, shifted, because a lot of the bulk of our traffic coming to our websites is finding local things to do. So once COVID hit and a lot of businesses, temporarily or permanently, unfortunately, closed, a lot of, parents weren't looking to take their kids out somewhere. Now, we were fortunate enough being here outside of the summer that when it first hit, I feel like, and we went into kind of a lockdown in March, we were, in the benefit being here in the Southwest, because we could go out and still go bike riding and go to parks and that kind of thing, which unfortunately the rest of the country was covered in snow like they are right now. But so what we had done at Hulafrog was nationally, we started combining all of these great virtual events going on for kids. So we add all of those onto our calendars. We also nationally do a live show, Live in 5, that has a week ahead in the beginning of the week and a weekend guide at the end of the week of saying, these are the really cool things that you can do from anywhere, from your house, or, jump in and see what's happening at a aquarium or a zoo. Like a lot of them nationally, we're doing all kinds of fun, neat courses, or cooking with kids, or, things like that you can do right from your home, that you don't have to be anywhere. So really, from that point of view, if anyone doesn't have a local Hulafrog in their area, they can still find all kinds of stuff to do, because we have a ton of virtual events going on.
That's awesome. It sounds like a great resource. Do you have just lastly, do you have any advice for people who might be struggling, like I just discussed, might be struggling with the whole balance, and any advice for people that are wanting to be more fun, but they're just, they're maybe not, that wasn't their common routine prior to, and they're just wanting to make that change. Do you have any advice for those moms?
Well, I would just think that whatever it is you're into. I mean, I think everyone kind of enjoys something. So whether it's hiking or going for a bike ride or just taking a walk, or, who cares what you look like in the swimsuit? Put the swimsuit on and get in the pool with the kids and play with them. that kind of thing of trying to get out of your head. I feel like of, oh, I need to do this or I need to do that. And just saying, you know what, just do it. Sometimes it's fun to just say, screw it. And we're going to play games all night. And who cares that you have homework? I mean,
All right.
not totally
Homework will
that,
still
but
be there when we're done.
yeah. Just making it happen.
Oh, I love it, Sarah. It was so nice to get to know you a little bit better because, like we were saying before the show, we have met in person, which is really, really cool. And so thank you so much for your time. Jeni, do you have any other questions for Sarah?
No, I just got to say, I love your outlook on life. You found your silver lining in everything that you went through, and you've made it into a positive experience. And, I could use that advice even just today, struggling with virtual school with my daughter and, feeling so frustrated. And I just love your mindset. None of it really matters in the grand scheme of things. And just got to be happy. And, it'd be a great day for me to say, okay, we can't get on school. Let's read a book or let's throw on a movie. I got to do some work and let's just make the best of the situation, and keep smiling and having fun. I love your outlook.
Oh, thanks.
I totally agree with that. And I also love your passion for giving back and for some of the work and the involvement that you've done, with certain charities and organizations along the way. Is that something that you get your daughter involved in? Does your whole family do that? Or is that just a passion for mom?
No, my whole family, my kids love volunteering at Feed My Starving Children, where we can race against other tables and who gets it faster. They loved with the singletons. We did Secret Santas for families, and we're there handing out all the gifts to the families of, for their kids, had Christmas presents and stuff. They've done a lot with the American Cancer Society with me. I'm always dragging them along, making them do it and trying to, make it fun and stuff. They have a blast doing it. They love it. Kids really like getting involved. And if you don't have a passion for any particular organization and getting your kids involved, Hulafrog can help with that. We have, I send a hot list that goes out every around Thanksgiving or beginning of November-ish, that's like ways that kids can give back in the community, whether it's signing up to go deliver Meals on Wheels to people that can't leave their house, or collecting donations for the local animal shelter. So we put all that out there. So there's something for everyone, and kids really have fun doing it. So it kind of seems almost a shame to not encourage them to do it younger. So they just kind of get used to that. And with that same thing, there, people who are dealing with cancer, like I said, the singletons, but the American Cancer Society, they have so many programs and outreach help for people. Even if it's just finding a ride for somebody to go to chemo, they have rides, they have, there's a lot of different things out there that I think when people are facing a bad situation like that, the more they know that it's like, we're here to help. There's ways that we can help, and you aren't all alone. There's, there are organizations there ready to do it, and the kids like getting involved.
They really do. I 100% agree with that. Kids are gonna, jump at the chance, I feel like, to help another or to be able to do something cool with mom and dad, right? So I love that you offer that resource as well. It sounds like you guys have a lot of stuff going on over there. It's nice that you offer that resource as well. And in fact, Hulafrog and MOMnation should collab on that because it's something that we've been talking about, that we have done. We charities are near and dear to our heart, organizations like that help people, especially here locally, and the local regions of our other states as well. It might be kind of cool to collaborate and get together and maybe coordinate one of those events where we go and something that I was thinking about the other day. I was driving along the freeway and I saw a younger homeless woman on the side of the road, and I was thinking to myself, what happens when it's her time of the month? Like, what does she do? I can't imagine what that must be like, struggling with, where am I going to sleep and how am I going to eat now? How am I going to not walk around with this situation for a week? You know what I mean? And so I know that there are some organizations out there that collect, feminine products for these ladies. And I was thinking to myself, gee, wouldn't it be cool if MOMnation did something like that? Because, these are other women, obviously, they're moms too, their daughters, their aunts, their sisters, you know what I mean? And so it's funny that we're having this conversation again. It seems like we really needed to have this conversation, Sarah.
Yeah. No, I'm totally in. I agree. I've seen people posting things about, collecting little like feminine hygiene or, care kits or something like that they do give out to homeless people. And I think we could do it as a big organization, have a whole bunch of us collecting donations and handing them out. I think that would be great.
I do too. So let's connect again. I obviously would love to anyway. And this is what a great resource, and you're a wonderful inspiration. But let's connect again and see what we can do here in our local market to really make a difference.
Sounds good. I'm in.
Awesome. All right, Jeni, what do we want our people to do?
We want you to go to Google Podcast or iTunes and subscribe to our podcast and download the episode so that we know you're listening. And if there's another app that you listen to your podcast on, drop us a message and let us know where you're listening so we know where else to recommend people find us at.
Absolutely. You notice she says Google first.
I do. I gotta throw. You know what we should also do? I think in the comments of this podcast, we should have a voting session. Tell us if you're Apple or Android. let's throw it out there. Let's have a little contest and see who listens on what type of device.
See who wins. Who do you think is going to win, Sarah?
I think probably Apple, but I am Android all the way.
There you go. High five, girl.
We're an anti-Apple home here.
Yes.
Awesome, guys. Well, Sarah, thank you again. Jeni, as always, it's lovely seeing you, my wonderful co-host. And this concludes season 4, episode 11. Can't even believe it's season 4. But we're already on episode 11, so I should probably start believing it soon. All right, guys. Thank you so much, Sarah from Hulafrog.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.